Mr. William, you are live.
Here we go. Hey, good afternoon or good evening or good morning, I guess, in some places, wherever you are. Hey, my name is William Friedman, and this is Mr. Jim Glenn. We'll be your host tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're happy to have you. This is pretty neat that you give up part of your Friday to be with us. I'd like to send a special welcome out to all the new guests that are here tonight for perhaps the very first time. This is our ASEA broadcast where we bring interesting and unique perspectives about the science of ASEA, the business of ASEA, and real life-changing experiences to all of you. Tonight's guest is, I've been so excited all week knowing that Dr. Aaron Kaufman is going to be joining us tonight. And Dr. Kaufman is a special guy. He's a family practitioner in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He graduated from Western University of Health Sciences College of Osteopathic Medicine in 1985, and he's been in practice for like 33 years. He's a clinical associate professor of family medicine at over 20 allopathic, osteopathic, and naturopathic medical colleges and universities around the U.S. Wow. Dr. Kaufman has founded multiple integrative medicine practices and is currently partner in Southwest Integrative Health Center in Albuquerque. And Dr. Kaufman, thanks for being with us. Wow, that was a few tongue twisters there.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive, William. You pronounced, enunciated everything properly.
Fantastic.
I'm impressed.
This is something that's been building up in me all week because I know that you have been, without question, an advocate for this company. You have changed a lot of people's lives with this technology. And so if you wouldn't mind sharing maybe a little bit more about yourself before we get started. And then I'd like to dig into, how did you hear about ASEA? What was that first moment?
Well, as you said, William, I've been practicing integrative family medicine for 33 years, and I always kind of had an attitude of anything that would help me and my patients that had a low risk and so forth. I was all up for that, and so in that time, I've accumulated a lot of things that I do that are outside of mainstream. And I do some mainstream medicine, but again, that risk to benefit ratio tends to be pretty high with most drugs. So I do some prescriptions and so forth, some standard mainstream therapies, a whole lot. Everybody gets nutritional recommendations. Everybody, I tell them they need to get their butts out of the chair. Humans aren't designed to sit, so some form of walking or exercise. I do lots and lots of human identical hormones, more than anybody in Mexico for like 25 years. I do injections that help people rebuild ligament and tendon, prolotherapy, PRP, that sort of stuff. Anyway, lots and lots of herbs, homeopathics, glandulars, enzymes. We've got a whole dispensary with over 120 different things that I've found over the course of my career that really we use a lot because they make a difference in people's health, well-being, and how they feel. So that's kind of my background. How I got introduced to ASEA, a doctor friend about 7.5 years ago spoke to me about this. And, I'll just be real upfront with you. I had had some bad experiences in the 80s and the 90s with network marketing. And I said, never again. Things blew up with the fourth company. And I said, I'm done. And a whole lot of changes in my life. And that was about 98-ish. And maybe even longer. No, it's about 15 years. And, being an integrative alternative health practitioner, everybody's bringing me the latest, greatest juice and antioxidant and so forth. And I would say, is this network marketing? They say, yeah. And I go, absolutely not. And I was serious. So when Dr. Edmonds brought ASEA to me in 2013, well, actually, she brought it to me in 2012. And I looked at it for over a year. Actually, the first thing I said was network marketing. And she said, yes. And I said, forget it. No, I was dead serious. And she was smart. She knew I'd been a runner for a long time. I live up in Cedar Crest, above Albuquerque at 7,000 feet. And I've been a runner for 44 years. She knew that. And I run from my house here at 7,000 feet up to through the Cibola National Forest up to 8,000 feet and back 3-4 times a week. And at that time, I'd been running those trails for 16 years. And so she starts giving me, this is the early days, she starts giving me research articles, Dr. Neiman's stuff, mostly the mice going 29% further. And what really got my attention was the cyclists, the high performance cyclists who went 12% further before they hit their ventilatory threshold, before they ran out of air, hit the wall. And that's exactly what I do 8 different places when I'm running up the mountain. And so it's like my wheels are turning and so forth. And these are, and just for reference, this is really good research. Everything is double blind, placebo controlled. And these studies, the athletic studies were or had crossovers and washouts, which just means it's real good science. And, you know, being a medical scientist, that's important to me. So I read this stuff. I still really don't know what redox signaling is, because I was in medical school almost 40 years ago, and there was no such term until 1998. So when we were studying biochemistry, energy production inside the mitochondria, these were these waste products. As far as we didn't even pay any attention to them. There were these negatives and positives that spun off as a byproduct of energy production, ATP, in the mitochondria. So when Dr. Edmonds said this is redox signaling molecules, I went, what? And so I went to PubMed. At that time, there were 6,000 articles. When you put redox signaling in the search bar at pubmed.gov, the government's website for all the peer-reviewed medical research. And I started reading abstracts, and I started to understand what this was and how it played into, you know, health and pathophysiology, disease, and so forth. And I kind of understood it not really well until I met Samuelson, Dr. Samuelson, who, you know, sort of blew my doors off. And anyway, the shorter version of that, now that I've gone the long way through the falls and all,
that's great.
I start drinking this stuff because, you know, it's very compelling. And within a month, I'm powering up the mountain harder and faster. And within 3 months, William, a month before I turned 60, I set new personal best times for the trails I'd been running for 16 years. Kind of got my attention. And then at 4 months, I started sleeping like I hadn't slept in 25 years. And what else? I think it was about 4 months in, my shoulders stopped hurting. And about 7 months, my hips, something like that. About a year, my low back stopped hurting, Mr. Glenn. And I went, okay, there's something going on here. I was actually very upset with Dr. Edmonds. I went to her and I'm complaining, right? And I go, I'm going to have to drink this for the rest of my life. You know, I feel so good. I'm running like an animal. I was upset. In my memory of her, she's very, you know, strong person, puts her hands on her hips and says, well, tell 6 people about it and yours will be paid for. And I groan and do this, you know. But what I did, you know, very professionally, I go, okay. And somebody would say something, you know, whatever, I got a headache, I got, you know, whatever. And it was like, I would sigh. I'd go like, and I would go, I've been drinking this stuff called ASEA, you know. And the interesting thing was based on my experience in the 80s and 90s, I was, you know, so used to when you talk to people about network marketing, they would start backing up either physically or emotionally. And it was like, and I was pretty gratified that people would go, they would look up and to the right, and I'd go, no, it's not the acai berry. And they'd go, oh, they'd never heard of it. That was like the first thing that really struck me. And then, very just haphazardly, without any training or anything, I said, yeah, it's these little molecules we make in every cell as a byproduct producing energy, less and less as we age. And I'm running like an animal, and I'm sleeping, and I don't hurt as much. And literally, it may be a minute or two. And out of the first 10 people, 2 of them raised their hands and went, I want that. And the first one, I went, you're kidding, because I was so used to being rejected. But I started telling people about it, and, did pretty well. That was sort of my inception, my entry into all this.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I have a question, because 16 years you've been running up that mountain.
Well, 21 now.
21 now. But at the time it was 16 years, and all of a sudden now you've got a personal best. So you're 16 years older, and you're going faster than you did for all of those 16 years. I mean, that's got to be pretty exciting.
Got my attention. There's 8 places, William, when I'm running up to 8,000 feet, it's all uphill, obviously, very, very rocky trails. And there's 8 places where I max myself, and I'm like, make that little noise. And it's like, I can't go anymore. I do just what those studies said. And it was amazing to me. And still, there's some other stuff going on, but for years, I would push at all 8 places. I would push beyond running up the mountain. I would push 20 to 50 yards further up the mountain before I'd hit that ventilatory threshold. And I love that feeling. I mean, that's a little strange. It's like you can't go anymore. You've hit it. I love that feeling personally.
Fantastic.
But yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, really neat. You mentioned Dr. Samuelson. I felt like you wanted to say more about that. I know people are really excited to hear about people's experiences with Dr. Samuelson. So when you met Dr. Samuelson, tell us what were your thoughts about that meeting and what you discovered?
I think the first time I met him, he came down here for a Super Saturday, and I obviously knew who he was. I'd heard him on videos and all, but I'm sure, just like you guys, it's like, how can you not just like your heart open and your mind open? This is one of the greatest souls that has ever graced the planet. I mean, he is world-class brilliant. And he has a heart like nobody I've ever seen. He's so sincere. He's almost innocent, but he's not. When I have, at that first meeting, we had a couple of hundred people there, and he stood in the back of the room, and I watched. He would have lines of people, and he would just sit and listen to them intently. And when finally they'd finished telling him whatever, asking him the question, he would answer their question in a way that they could understand at whatever level they were. And I brought medical scientists and so forth, as well as just regular folks. And he has said things, William, to me at that time and since then, that sometimes it'll take me a year to really get what he's talking about. And it's expanded my consciousness tremendously. And I, just honored to consider him, a friend and so forth. But he's given me some of the key concepts that I use with people when I'm communicating about it, like the concept of these molecules are so tiny, 2 and 3 and 4 atoms, that when they touch your skin or mucous membranes, they're in like BBs through a chain link fence. That was his. And I've had the grace he invited me to the Autism One conference in Chicago in 16, and then in Colorado Springs in 17. And I've talked with him and all these world-class scientists from around the world. And it is impressive. He is a majorly impressive man. So anyway. Yeah, thanks for asking that. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, excellent. you know, the few conversations I've had with him, absolutely right on. He's just so attentive, and yes, he simplifies the message in just a very unique way that you just know you're in the presence of brilliance. So yeah,
Yes.
fantastic. So Dr. Kaufman, so we're at the point where you decide to start telling some patients who raise their hands, and we're much further along than that now. And so what were some of the first, I guess, early responses that you were seeing with some of your patients? Were you surprised by what was happening for them?
Yeah, I still am today, William. I mean, surprised and not surprised, understanding what this is and having seen so much stuff that you just do not see anywhere else. Mainstream, for sure, medicine, but even in any kind of alternative healthcare practice, you know, there's things that happen with these redox signaling molecules that just are mind-boggling, you know, and on a regular basis. I mean, all you got to do is listen to the charge up call for a week and just be blown away. But, you know, personal experience, you know, early on seemed like everybody would get out of whatever sort of discomfort, whether it was excruciating due to injuries, surgeries, due to degenerative changes in bones, or whether it had to do with nerves. Everybody seemed to get better, very individual, you know, but everybody got better over time. It took a year for my low back to stop hurting. Everybody sleeps better. Everybody has more mental clarity, more energy. People tend to be emotionally happier, it seems like. I remember early on, first few months, we were holding these meetings that really took off here in Albuquerque, and I would look at these people and they would get, their color would improve over the months, you know, standing there every week looking at them. And I started to see things that, just what you're talking about, blew my socks off, like Shauna Rampley, you know, who's got severe degeneration of her hands and feet and was almost out of this world, was almost done, and started drinking it and started getting progressively. I watched every week as she would get function back for over a year. The first day she came in and she could do buttons again, everybody cheered, and, you know, it was fun. It was very, you know, this journey of discovery. And we started seeing more and more. I'm sure you guys have had the same experience. And it just blows you away, the next story. And there are so many people who aren't dead now, who were supposed to be dead. It just floors me. It seems like I hear a new story of that kind of caliber every about 3 to 5 months. But I guess the generalizations are, you know, anything that, as Dr. Samuelson says, anything that involves a cell is going to function better. Oh, one that really stood out, you asked me things I didn't expect. I think I was about 3 months in, and somebody who was somewhere down in one of the groups, this naturopath, calls me from Iowa. Never met her before. And she tells me she's got this daughter who's got the issue where she doesn't connect with people emotionally and has blow-ups. And she's 21 and she was born with this. And she was moderately severe on that spectrum. And she had been giving her the ASEA. And she said she's sleeping through the night. She didn't used to. She used to be up in the middle of the night a lot. And she's not having as many blow-ups. And she's starting to make a little bit of eye contact, starting to engage. And I went, wow, I had some notion that this was just an emotional, or I don't even know what I thought it was, you know, maybe genetic or something. And here it was getting better. So it started to expand my understanding, my consciousness about what the potential is for these amazing molecules.
Fantastic. And are there times now when you surprise yourself when you think about what's going on with someone? Is it almost like an automatic to think about the molecules now? Like one of the first things maybe you think about?
I think about these molecules, William, a lot. Ain't a day goes by I don't think about these molecules the day. But be that as it may, yeah, it's an important part of my armamentarium. I was just doing a call for guy over in Germany, and we were talking to his team, and they were asking me how I incorporated my practice. And it's, I've got that dispensary. It's got 120 different herbs and vitamins and supplements. There's all the drugs I use, hormones, so forth and so on. This is, in one sense, another tool in my armamentarium, my tool belt, if you will, that, can help people. But there's what we just talked about. There's this bottom line understanding. This makes everything else work better. Doesn't matter whether they're taking protein drinks or, getting glutathione injections or hormones or taking supplements. This turns the cells on to be able to utilize all that other stuff. And now that we have these, oh my gosh, amazing supplements, it's, I love the conceptualization they've given us about cellular health from the inside, they don't say this, but from the inside out and the outside in, the nutrition and so forth. These supplements, you didn't ask me this, but I'm going to go into it anyway. Yeah. These nutritionals are amazingly designed, just brilliantly and consciously designed to be absorbed at the cellular level, to be cellular nutrition. And now, as the analogy they make now, the redox products are the workers. So, yes, I'm constantly amazed, and I think about it all the time.
Thank you. That's fantastic. And so the cellular nutrients, you're talking about ASEA's nutraceuticals?
Yep.
So give us
the VIA products.
What's that?
The VIA products.
The VIA products. Yeah. Thank you. I think a lot of us in ASEA, and I think a lot of people that might be listening either have not yet experienced the nutraceuticals, the VIA line, or perhaps they're thinking it's just another one of those, supplements. How would you help these people understand that this is something that's much, much more than that?
So apart from giving them a finger whipping, say you want to be using these products, apart from that, well, again, William, I've been using huge numbers of nutraceuticals, all kinds of stuff including probiotics, like, Biome is a probiotic formula, life extension formulas, antioxidant formulas, and so forth for 33 years. And I've found the best of the best. And I'll just let you know, I'm kind of stupid in a lot of ways. When they came out with the Renew 28, I'm going, great, a skincare product. Oh my God. And when they came out with this stuff, it's like, they didn't ask me. I've been doing this 33 years, and so forth. And I'm going, great. And I start looking, and it's like, okay, interesting. And then I start understanding how they put these together. And I'm going, who did they talk to? How did they come up with this? Again, what I just said, these are the most consciously, brilliantly designed nutraceuticals I've ever seen in my life. Just starting with the source, which is a micronutrient, whole food, multi-nutrient formula. I mean, the sourcing for this stuff, all these natural sources. I mean, oh my gosh. Some of the minerals come from, algae harvested off of Iceland, this red algae. I mean, oh my God. And, glycoprotein ferments are these, basically means fermentation means they are pre-digested. So the glyco is sugar and the protein is protein, and they're sort of pre-digested. And then they stick in the secret sauce is this enzyme formula, which helps your body break these down so they're ultimately absorbable. This stuff, and the first person who ever used it, that I talked to in Albuquerque, she took 2 of them at 5 in the morning on a Saturday when she first got them, and went to a garage sale, and we had a meeting at noon, and she comes in and goes, man, I got a lot of energy. And people feel it. People don't feel multivitamins, so that's one. And the Biome blew my socks off. It works like nothing else I've ever used. And I've got some really high grade probiotics in my clinic. People have antibiotic associated diarrhea and the tough cases, and all different formulas. And this stuff comes along, and I start looking at how they designed it. And it's 16 different probiotics. I've never seen this before. Targeted, for recolonizing and balancing out the gut flora, but for brain health, for dental health, for allergies, on and on and on. And I'm sitting there going, holy mackerel. And this secret sauce is prebiotics, which feed the probiotics and your normal gut bacteria, and slippery elm, which soothes the whole gut. And so these people, with these gut bombs, the high potency 1, 2, 3 of the basic probiotics, it's not uncommon for it to upset people's stomach. Nobody's stomach gets upset with this. Everybody tolerates it really well. And my experience, since it came out in, September? Yeah, at convention. Everything I give it to everybody for, it gets better. It works. So anyway, and the Life Max is wonderful. Brilliantly designed also. I can go off on that. Well, that's enough.
Well, that's pretty exciting. So we have a cellular health company that had the flagship product Redox molecules, right? That is focused on cellular health. And it just got better. I think it was something like 5 years into it, they found a way to put the molecules in a gel in a concentrated form. And then a little while later, the other major missing component is the nutraceuticals. And not only did they they didn't just come out with a nutraceutical, they came out with, like what you're saying, mind blowing. Finally, somebody did it right, nutraceuticals.
Yeah, my take on it, William, is this company don't mess around. They do everything right. No matter what it is, they do things right. And they went from not even being a player in the market at all to the best of the best I've ever seen. It blows me away. I'm so impressed with that. Not that I wasn't anyway, but.
That's so exciting. I think those of us that are around for a little while, it doesn't take long to realize the quality of the people and the commitment that they have to all of us and to really all of humanity is the way I see it. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, really exciting. So
we hit the jackpot.
We did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. So Dr. Kaufman, for those that don't really understand redox, help us understand where's the term come from, redox?
A contraction, William, of reductants and oxidants. So the reductants are positively charged and the oxidants are negatively charged. And in this case, these are tiny, tiny molecules, as I alluded to earlier, 2 and 3 and 4 atoms in size. So as soon as they touch any living tissue, boom, they're in. But they are spinoffs of ATP energy production in the mitochondria, the little energy factories in every cell. And the amazing thing is that these things that we considered waste products, in 1998, they discovered they are literally foundational to life. You don't think a thought, you don't take a breath, you don't digest food, grow hair, nothing happens that's not turned on and turned off, signaled by these reductant oxidant molecules. Redox is the contraction. And I lost the thought. ask me something more.
So
Oh, I know. It was the how miraculous this was. We sort of toss it off. Everybody said it was impossible, and people go, yeah, yeah, yeah. But the reason they thought it was impossible is because those negatives and those positives remain negative and positive inside the same bottle for up to almost 2 years. The shelf life is 18 months or whatever it is, and they don't denature back to salt water. They don't, the negatives and positives don't cancel out. I love the analogy. It's like you put ice and boiling water in a bottle and it has a 2-year shelf life. That's what this is akin to.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that is the impossible aspect of this, right?
But Samuelson, I kind of nailed him down a little bit on that. He obviously wouldn't give away the secrets, but he figured out how to complex it. That was part of him being a nanoparticle physicist. He figured out how to complex them so they're stable and so forth.
Fantastic. This is so exciting. So, Dr. Kaufman, when you think about the impact this has had on your life and in your practice, and the fact that you're now working with people really literally all over the world to discover this technology, how do you see this impacting the future? Because you've been around for a number of years now. You've watched the future as it's unfolded. And so how do we, if we even look a little further into the future, how do you see this impacting humanity, impacting the world, and especially as it will impact our lives?
Well, there's a lot of ways, William. The first thing I thought of was that first talk I saw Dr. Samuelson give in Albuquerque 6+ years ago. And he showed this slide. I mean, he showed a lot of science slides, don't get me wrong, but he showed this slide of the woods, and you couldn't really tell where the trail was and so forth. And then he showed another slide, and it was this overlook, and you're looking out, you probably got like a 90-mile view of mountains in the distance and so forth. And he says, that's where we are. We're sort of just coming out of the woods here. And this is going to transform world health as we know it. And at first, it was just like, okay, I'm going to get my product paid for, so I need to tell a few people. And then they started sending me more and more money. So that kind of got exciting. And, I told more and more, and then had people building and whatnot. But then I started to realize there's 7 billion people on the planet. And at this point, I think there's only about 100,000 people worldwide who have either heard of it or are using ASEA. And I kind of went from the get-go, I need to tell everybody I know and ever knew and ever will know now, because I want them all under me, And then it got even bigger than that. And I still feel that way. And then it got even bigger than that. And it was like, okay, this really is this global mission to transform health. And I went into medicine because I really love making a difference in people's lives and helping them with suffering and staying healthy and so forth. When how many ever years ago it was, they came out with the mission and vision statement, I went, I am aligned with this. I want to be a force for good in the world and help people, transform their lives. And how wonderful, this is what I've been doing anyway, that I can reach more and more people. So what I see happening, in answer to your question, is this evolution in the company. It started out when I started with Vertus's vision, and he and now Tyler constantly are talking about knowing where you're at. They call it a "you are here" map. And Vertus was brilliant. He would give those talks. I don't know if you guys were around then. He would give these talks, which were sort of mega trends, not the book, but his view of what's happening in the world and where we fit into that. And he showed us why and where we were going. And the company, where we are now, the company started being ready for that 10 years ago and 6 years ago and laying the foundation. And it blows me away how brilliant and competent they are to make this the legacy company that we've been hearing about, and to watch us heading into that momentum and go, wow, they're doing what they talked about. I just have zero doubt, because of all the patents and because of who the corporate people are and because of, you know, William Friedman and Jim Glenn and Aaron Kaufman and Francine Turan, that this will be, you know, a household name. Everybody in the world is going to know about this. So I think, you know, the vision is huge.
Wow, that's really exciting. Really exciting.
It is.
Yeah, yeah. Jim, did you want to?
Yeah, I want to ask Dr. Kaufman, what would you say to the next Dr. Kaufman that has those previous thoughts on how we distribute the product? How would you deal with that if you were to speak to yourself a few years ago?
Just grab my ears and shake my head. Roll up a newspaper and whack me over.
Don't do what I...
Well, you know, Jim, it's a good question. What I do, you know, because all of us run into this, oh, network marketing, disreputable, whatever, you know, and doing, you know, working in this venue for all these years, you know, you learn all these things from Eric Worre and all our leaders and so forth, and, you know, feel, felt, found, and geez, you must have had a horrible experience. And so just like anything else, I ask questions and listen, but then I turn around and say, you ain't half as skeptical as I was. And I tell them my story and they go, oh. So answer your question, what would I tell myself? And it's the same thing I tell other people. You know, this was my preconceived notion, and here's what the research I did, and here's what I found, and here's my experience. And it's like, and you watch people, you know, when you do that, I understand how you feel. I felt the same way. Here's what I found. All of a sudden, it's not like, oh, I don't want to use this stuff. It's network marketing or whatever. All of a sudden, it's like you've come around the table and you're sitting on the same side and you're going, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And here's what I found. And the reality is, essentially, everybody goes, oh, and it's never spoken of again, and you move forward.
Exactly. Hey, Dr. Kaufman, can you speak to the younger people out there? A lot of people tend to believe that this is a older person issue, but yeah, we've got people we talk to, we have babies being born, 20-month-old children with leukemia. And we're not making any claims that we cure, treat, diagnose, anything, but could you speak to the younger people on how important, because we are starting to attract some, you know, 20-something-year-olds into our business, and they're really catching this vision that they can make a huge impact. And then my other question, I've got one more to ask, but how would you address the younger people that are listening and will listen to this call in the future?
Well, my first thought was to go, dudes and dudettes, you know, but that's not what you're talking about.
No.
You know, being in, I treat all ages and so forth, and being in, you know, looking at this stuff, being conscious about people's health and what plays into it, and the huge role that nutrition has played in destroying the health of America. And I say that advisedly, you know, watching, you know, the rates of obesity go like this for the past 33 years in my practice, and the rates of autoimmunity and cancer doing this for my first 20 years, and doing this in the last, you know, hockey sticking in the last 13, 15 years because of GMOs and Roundup and on all our wheat and corn and soy. Without going into that, I am seeing more and more and more unhealthy, younger and younger people. Not that there wasn't always, you know, this process in place of the decline of our redox molecules, the aging process, but no question, more and more younger people are fatigued, have autoimmunity, you know, not somewhat more cancers, but just, you know, more injuries and so forth. It's a whole different world from the one we grew up in. And people if they choose to, it's more inclement than ever, Jim, for them to take responsibility for their health. And nothing in my experience makes the level of difference that these redox molecules do. Replenishing those, allowing your body to do what it's capable of doing, recognizing abnormal cells and killing them off, recognizing damage and repairing it, regenerating, turning on, the expression of our genes, the operating system for our cells that controls what the cell does. So, and let me put a proviso in here. It's not an excuse to eat crap food or not exercise or, take responsibility in that way. But there is no single product I've ever found that makes the level of difference in keeping people healthy and helping them with health issues at whatever age than ASEA, Renew, the redox products. And the other thing I'll say, being an aging athlete, is, oh my gosh, does this make a mind-boggling difference for athletes at any age. And if somebody is an athlete, you didn't ask me, I'll throw this in. If you show them that 7-minute athlete's video, they're going to be raising their hand and say, I got to have this. I have showed that to so many people and had them go, I want that right now. And I experience everything they're talking about in there.
Fantastic.
Last question I want to share or ask real quick. Sorry, William. You were around earlier when there was a lot where Virtus was known. We've got the most amazing technology. Can you kind of put your thoughts into also having Virtus Norton and now Tyler Norton as bringing these two forces together to bring forth what we have and laying the groundwork? How important that is to you as a businessman, as a doctor, but not only having, again, the amazing science, but also having the management team behind this company.
The ASEA Corporation keeps, I don't understand why, but they keep pushing me up to make me say things in front of people. And I remember, I think it was 15, they had me talking for something they gave me. And I said, I just feel like I hit the jackpot. I think I mentioned this earlier. I'm running like an animal. I feel great, sleep great. My patients are getting better. I'm watching, all kinds of people's health improves, making a difference. They keep sending me more and more money. And I fell in love with the people at ASEA, and now we're impacting world health. And the vision kept growing. But foundationally, it's mind-boggling that we also just coincidentally, divine orchestration, happen to have essentially close to one of the most brilliant business strategists in the world, Arthur, this business, design it, set it into motion. You guys have all probably heard the talk Tyler gave at convention. I think it was 2 or maybe 3 years ago about his dad, taking them on trips in the car and how he would prepare everything and so forth. And that's what he's done for this business. The brilliance of the design, and it's certainly him and Tyler, they are both just mind-boggling consciousnesses and businessmen. But look at who they pull together. Oh my God, Chuck Funky is a rock. He just gets it. He is cool as a cucumber. He makes these tough decisions all day, every day. They got Jerem Webb, who's this brilliant, actuarial accountant and so forth, who's got, is doing the marionette thing with all the numbers and so forth. They put, Scott Aldred and Karen Riley. And I mean, it's just mind-boggling, the corporate staff they've put together. I get so excited about that. There's just no question that, and I don't know if anybody went to Cancun and listened to Tyler talking about when him and Chuck and Jerem meet. And he expanded it, say, the entire executive staff. He was talking about true north. And he says, everybody's true north. They are so aligned when they get together that it's crazy. And he said, what they talk about is not like this proprietary thing. They talk about protecting us. And a lot of people in the room start crying because that's their focus. And protecting, that means protecting this product also. Nobody's going to have this for, I say 20 years. I actually think maybe longer than that. It's a great question, Jim. It's mind-frying how, you know, how they just have all this wire. This is just, you know, you don't see all the pieces in place like you do with this corporation, these products, and this, you know, I can't help but think, you know, I'm not getting on any soapboxes about this, but to me, it's divine orchestration.
I was an ex-stockbroker for 30 years, and I saw a lot of people coming in with IPOs, initial public offerings, and meeting some of the most brilliant people in the business world. And I've never seen anything compiled so perfectly at the perfect time ever. With the product, no competition, you know, rock solid, no debt. You know, they have the capacity for 800 million in revenue. We only are at 127. I mean, it's just, and everybody needs it, right? Everything alive can benefit from this. So thank you, William. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You know, this is so exciting to me.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, guys. You know, so Bertus begins to form the dream team because of his innate ability to see and view things in a strategic way, the likes of which likely nobody else on this planet can do. And you know what's really exciting, I think, is for me anyway, is we can actually follow this same principle, the same ideology, and we can see it happening within our own groups. It's actually it's happening right now all around us, and we are as individuals now attracting, because now we have become more ourselves. We have moved into a higher understanding, I think, like Dr. Aaron says, is it's literally, I believe, raised our consciousness, our understanding of what's important in life, and the mission to be a force for good in this world. And wow, it's happening at every level. I can see it from the top all the way to people that have just joined my team. And I'm not surprised. I used to be surprised. I'm not surprised anymore. I feel like Dr. Aaron says, is it's like a divine planning. I really literally expect the people to show up now.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really what's happening. You know, as we get close on time here, I want to be respectful of Francine's time, and she's been so patient sitting there in the background. So, Dr. Aaron, take it away.
So, my dear friend Francine Turan has been gracious enough to give us her testimonial tonight. You meet so many wonderful people through this. I didn't know, I knew her husband, Eric, but I didn't meet her until, what, Francine, like 4 months ago? Unmute, can you unmute her?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. There we go.
Was it about 4 months ago, 5 months ago?
Yes, about 6 months ago.
6 months, okay, time, right. But anyway, she's got a mind-boggling story, and whenever she tells it, you know, and oftentimes it's in her home and with her friends, and they're going, yep, because they witnessed it. Her transformation blows me away. She's just a delightful person. She and Eric have just wholeheartedly embraced this business. But I'm not going to take your time, Francine. Tell them what was life like before, how you came across this, and what happened.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kaufman. Before I was introduced to the ASEA, 5 years ago, I had an accident and I tore my ACL. And for about 15 years, I've hurt my ankle, and it's never really healed right. So when I was falling, I heard the snap and I went down, and I thought I broke my ankle. When they got me up, my knee went out of socket, and my ACL just snapped right in half. So my ankle and my knee were just so swollen, just huge. I had to have reconstructive surgery. Before and after surgery, I was in extreme discomfort. I, I didn't have much sleep. Nothing helped me. And so, woken up in the middle of the night, just extreme, just discomfort. So I started at the end of January taking the ASEA, and a week into drinking it, I was laying in bed and I was having extreme discomfort. And my husband rubbed the Renew all over my knee on the right side. And within minutes, it went away. And so about an hour went by and I started getting extreme discomfort. And it was on the left side where he didn't rub it. So he rubbed it on my knee, and within minutes, it went away. I don't have any problems. I don't even feel anything with my knee or my ankle. And it wasn't just those two, it was my whole leg. And I don't have any problems at all. If I do, which is very little, I just rub the Renew and it goes away. So it's been huge, and I'm sleeping. I'm not woken up with the discomfort.
Tell them about your other big issue.
Okay.
You got a bunch of them, but there's a couple of them that are just like, go ahead.
All right. So I have a severe medical condition in which tissue that normally lines the inside of your uterus grows outside your uterus. I've had this for over 30 years. I had 4 surgeries within 2 years, and I've had to learn how to live with it. And I have extreme discomfort and extreme bleeding. And so 5 weeks into drinking the ASEA, I had my experience. I was woken up with extreme discomfort, and I grabbed the ASEA. I drank 2 ounces, and it was all on the right side, on my right side. So I grabbed the Renew, I rubbed it all over the front, through the back. I mean, it just radiates throughout.
That was your abdomen.
Mm-hmm. And so I rubbed it in, and within 5 minutes, it went away. And this is something I've dealt with for over 30 years. That has never happened. And every day that goes by, they both keep improving tremendously. So it's been life-changing.
What's significant to me, Francine, is that night when Eric shared that the reason he married you was because you were so happy and y'all just laughed and had such a great time. And for a lot of years, you were in so much discomfort. Thank you for being so compliant. That was lovely. You were in so much discomfort, excruciating discomfort, that you were not a happy camper, and all your friends saw it. I've heard from all of them, a lot of them, and that you basically are back to being that person. Since I've known you, you have been that person again, and Eric has verified that he got his wife back. I mean, that just, to me, it's like, that's why I do this.
Right.
So thank you. Anything else you want to share?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, fantastic. You know, I think, and that's a big part for all of us of why we're here, why we're doing what we're doing. And so, Francine, thanks for being so brave. Thanks for coming on and sharing your very compliant testimonial with us. It's so fantastic to see you. We're all very happy for you and your family. This is fantastic.
Hey, real quick, Francine, how much have you been drinking? How much of the ASEA have you been drinking a day?
So 2 ounces in the morning, 2 ounces
Okay.
at night. With my severe medical condition, I was drinking actually 2 ounces every couple of hours. As I was getting discomfort, kept just coming on, I kept drinking every couple of hours, and it started getting better. And
Now
so
again,
I
how long ago was all this with
um
both the knee,
um with my knee,
your knee and both issues? How long were they? About the same period of time?
as being on the ASEA,
Yes.
my knee, it was a week. I noticed I had my experience. It was a week.
How
And
long
then
ago was that?
end of January.
Okay.
And then 5 weeks into drinking the ASEA, that's when I had an experience with the other one.
Okay, great. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You bet.
Well, guys, as we wind down here, this is definitely one of my most favorite experiences on Friday night. You guys have made it really special. Dr. Aaron, hey, it's always a pleasure to see you when we bump into each other at events. You're yeah, beautiful guy, and I can't wait to see you in September. And Francine, thanks for being with us as well. Your bravery has made a huge difference for a lot of other people.
Thank you.
So, yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Francine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate y'all.
And just to let everybody know, we do have a autism webinar this coming Tuesday on this same channel on www.redox2.com. So this coming Tuesday at 8 o'clock Central Time, we will be having an autism webinar. I'm not sure if William, I just kind of asked him a little while ago if he can kind of help with that, but we do have Jerry White, Dr. Janet Lintala, who wrote the book, The Unprescription for Autism. And then we have a pharmacist, Lonnie Guerrero from the Rio Grande Valley, going to be sharing. So that will be this coming Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So with that, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. It's been an honor and a blessing to share these molecules with everyone.
Have a great weekend. Go change somebody's life. Bye,
Yes.
everybody.
Hey, guys, go do it.
Do it. Just do it.
Just do it. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Doc. Thanks, William.
Night, guys.